2026. On the eve of Independence Day, President Trump has issued a historic proclamation marking the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. The White House calls it America 250, a year-long celebration of the nation's founding, its freedom, and its future. From coast to coast, the president says, Americans will honor the timeless truth that all are created equal and endowed with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And you know, Doug called me and he said, would you do me a favor? He's really fantastic because I did not know the gentleman too well. But he said, Kelly Armstrong is fantastic. Would you endorse him for governor? And I did, and he won easily. Kelly Armstrong, great job you're doing. Great job. And two of my very good friends, two warrior senators, tough cookies, tough. Oh, I wish they could get their way. We could get a couple of little things passed, like voter identification, like proof of citizenship. It's called Save America. You know, that's pretty good. Save America, can you imagine? We have 100% of the Democrats against it and 4 or 5 Republicans, if you can believe that. What are they all about? But these two people are with us all the way, John Hoeven and Kevin Cramer, senators. They're great. Two great guys. And a congresswoman who fights and gets what she wants, and she's very respected, Julie Fedorchak. Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Very, very respected. And we have our ambassador, Monica. Where's Monica? Monica Crowley. Fantastic. Acting Secretary of the Navy, Hung Kao. And we're building a lot of ships.
1 year on, the White House says the president's working families' tax cuts are delivering. A new report claims bigger paychecks, lower taxes, and rising take-home pay for American workers 12 months after the law took effect. The administration frames it as proof that the America First economic agenda is working for the middle class. Critics question the numbers, but the president says the results speak for themselves. More money in the pockets of hardworking families.
But McKinley actually, and he was assassinated, but he made tremendous amounts of money, made our country very rich. And then Teddy Roosevelt, as the vice president, got in, and he did some incredible things. But one of them, I think one of the most amazing, maybe a lot of people would say the parks, you could say a lot of different elements of his success, so incredible. But he built the Panama Canal. It was the most expensive project to this date, if you bring the dollars forward, ever built in history. 38,000 people died. They died 95% from mosquitoes, malaria, 95%. You expected almost to die. They paid workers from the United States. Mostly they came in, and mostly, I must say, men. It was a little different time. Today would have men and women, but they had all men. And they paid them massive amounts of money, more than they were making as workers in the United States. It's such a fascinating thing, the Panama Canal. I've studied it long and hard, and when they gave it away, $1. But they died from the mosquito and they died from the snake. They have a viper, a snake, that if you get bit, you're in trouble. If you get bit, you were dead. You were dead, and that wiped out about 5%. We lost 38,000 people building the Panama Canal, our people. 38,000 people died building the Panama Canal. It opened, and from day one, it was very successful.
At the Supreme Court, another win for the administration. The justices have backed the president's authority on transgender policy, a decision the White House calls a victory for common sense and for parental rights. It is the latest in a string of high court rulings going the administration's way. The White House is also touting the biggest overhaul of environmental permitting in a generation. Reforms to the decades-old NEPA process aim to slash the red tape that has delayed roads, bridges, and power plants for years. The president calls it a win for every American who wants to build, to hire, and to grow.
And the place we are today in 2026. And here, 5 lessons, and I wanted to write these because you can learn from some people, not from too many. From a lot of them, you don't want to learn much. But you can learn from him, and here are 5 lessons that are really extraordinary. Life offers to all Americans on the threshold of our 250th year. First of all, the life of Theodore Roosevelt reminds us that Americans never give up. We don't give up. You know, if you really look back 2 years ago, I could see people wanting to give up. I could see them wanting to give up. He never stopped, never quit, never surrendered in pursuit of his dreams. He had a dream, a very complex dream he did because of the way he traveled, the way he moved, the fact that he ended up here and turned out to be one of the most impactful things he ever did, ending up right here where we are. But his pursuit of the American dream never, ever stopped. It was really amazing. He was plagued by asthma, very, very bad, very serious. He was having a hard time breathing for much of his life. But he went out and he was told by his doctor that he'd have to live very quietly. This is as a young man, he was told you'd have to be and have a very quiet life. You have to be nice and easy. And he did just the opposite. He had a freaking wild life.
And relief for the American farmer. President Trump has declared a national emergency authorizing duty-free imports of phosphate fertilizer, aimed at driving down soaring costs and keeping American farms competitive through the harvest season.
Thank you, sir, but they're great riders. You guys are fantastic. Thank you. But he led the Rough Riders in their heroic charge up San Juan Heights. And with malaria coursing all throughout his veins, he was really sick. Colonel Roosevelt galloped into a hail of Spanish bullets, and when his horse came to a wire fence, he leapt off the horse. He jumped off the horse, and he started running toward the enemy. I don't know if that was smart, but he made it. Then he looked over at the next hill, and he grabbed his men. He said, "Fellas, let's do it again." And he did it again and again. The Rough Riders' victory at San Juan Heights led directly to the collapse of the Spanish line. The Spanish. They're members of NATO, but not very good members of NATO. They say, no, we don't want to help other people. What are we doing, huh? They are not behaving nicely, but they will learn. Soon after, they relinquished their grip on Cuba and Guam, the Philippines and Puerto Rico, and they were all ours. We got them all. And speaking of Cuba, after many, many decades, it's coming our way. Coming our way. But for his actions that day, TR...
It all builds toward the big one. As the nation counts down to July 4th, the president is kicking off the America 250 celebration, from the Theodore Roosevelt Library out west to the Freedom 250 train. The message from this White House is pride, patriotism, and a country ready to celebrate 2.5 centuries of independence. That is your Trump brief for Friday, July 3rd. On the eve of America's 250th Independence Day, the America First agenda is winning on every front. For the latest each and every day, subscribe to the Trump Brief, USA. Happy Independence Day, and we will see you tomorrow.